Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the one and only podcast here in the NJSSL that recaps every week almost, and most of the season here in the NJSSL. Welcome to the Cutting Redge. This week I have with me one of the best defenders in the NJSSL. Unfortunately, he's currently a Goliath Warrior, but unfortunately been placed on the injured reserve for the rest of the season due to a torn ACL. But we are excited for him to be on the show and then hopefully back with us next season. Please welcome my guest at this time, Nabil Ahmed.
What's going on, NJSSL? Glad to be here. Miss you guys dearly. Inshallah, I'll be back soon.
And we are so glad to have you. In fact, we're so glad to have you that you should be hearing some cheering. There it is. All right, awesome. No, man. I'm glad that the road to recovery is going well. I'm hoping that the road to recovery is going well. You want to give like maybe a brief update on how things are going?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, everything is going well. I mean, as well as it could go for someone that has a torn ACL. I'm able to do like basic workouts, could run, could lift some. Just can't play basketball. Obviously, is that requires a different level of physicality and athletic ability. So it's okay. I want to come. I just need to make sure that if I come to visit you guys, I'm not jumping into a game, which I don't know if I could contain myself. But inshallah, I think I'm moving past that point. So inshallah, I'll be there in person to cheer everybody on. Of course, my
Inshallah.
team comes first.
Of course, of course. Actually, that's a good question. Or that brings me up to a good question. So, if you had to root between Saad's team and, well, I guess Salah's not playing, you're not playing, and then Saad's team and Razaz's team, who would you vote for?
I would probably vote for neither because they're both my brothers. So
That's fair. That's the right answer. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, so far it's been 7 weeks into this basketball season in the NJSSL. We've had a lot of surprises. So far, sitting from the sidelines and kind of watching the games. What are your kind of overall thoughts on this season compared to previous seasons?
yeah, so I think this season is actually more balanced than last season. I think last season you had like top tier teams, and I think you had some of the teams that were not as good. For the most part, as far as like skill set is concerned, I think every team has at least like two guys for the most part, one or two guys, if not more, that could really contribute to the game. Whether it's on the offensive end or on the defensive end, and I think that makes much more of a competitive season. With that being said, I think it's no shocker that there's one team that's a notch or so above everyone else, which would be Shahrukh's team, and that's just because he's in Jordan mode right now. But that's not to say that he can't be beaten.
That's for sure. I mean, and the one thing that is important to note is I think Shahrukh has missed at least 3 games so far, and with that, actually, his team is not even in first place. They're 5-2 right now, and they're technically in third place because they don't have the the tiebreaker over the second place team, which is judged by Huck, who's also 5-2. And then the Abbas Almdars are also 5-2, but they do have the tiebreaker over them. I think one of the big things to talk about is, and we'll get into the standings in just a little bit. Right now the number one team is and the Shujat Al Yazghar, which is Ahmed Ali's team, and that is the team that pretty much consistently has only 4 or 5 guys show up each week, and they're pretty much playing the full game every week, and yet somehow still pulling it off. What are your thoughts on, I guess, this team in general, and like how they've been playing, just finding a way to find win after win after win?
Honestly, Reg, I'm not surprised because, it's not about the quantity of people that show up, it's about the quality, right? And when you look at a Medal East team on paper, they have a little bit of everything. They have athletic ability with the kid with Slipfoot Casey. I know how he places. He was on our team at the latter end of the season last year, and he runs. He runs. He's great for those outlet passes. He's great to drive to the basket. Then you have Ahmed Ali, who really control and dictate the pace of the game alongside with his basketball IQ makes it really, really tough to play against him. And then last but not least, you have Daniel Syed, who I believe that last year or this year was overlooked. And the reason is because he's a great big man. Get you, 12, 13 boards every game. He's great with the putbacks, and he, brings that rebounding skill set, and size, which is crucial to any team.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think definitely on the list of potentially most improved is Said Daniel, and he I think he has been the big man that Ahmed has been wanting every season. And so finally, I think that between those three guys, and certainly I still think when the Miz shows up, he still contributes to the team. I know Irfan Ali's been contributing to the team, and even Shabir Bay, all of them have been contributing in their own way, and so this team is, like you said, very well rounded, similar almost to the Raptors of last season. Though maybe I don't know if this team would be able to keep up with the Raptors from last season, but definitely impressive. Um, I guess overall, let's just kind of touch base on like the current standings right now, and kind of I want to hear your thoughts on kind of like what teams you think are have lots long ways to go. Will eventually find their footing, and which teams are going to kind of fall flat once playoffs get here. So, kind of with that being said, we have Shujat Al Israel. We said is in first at 6-1. We've got Jazbai Huck at second at 5-2. Enlightened Elite also 5-2, and then Abbas Alamdar is also 5-2 as the 3 and 4 teams. Then the 4 and 3 teams, we've got the Commanders of Mujtaba in fifth, the Sadiq Scholars in sixth, and then down to the 3 and 4 teams, we got 3 teams at 7, 8, and 9. The Noljawans, Sabra Zanab, and then the Vilayat Warriors, which is your team, and then at 10, we've got the 2 and 5 Mehdi Mercenaries, and then 11. After finding a win, both of these teams finding a win in week 7, we've got the 1 and 6 Guardians of Fadak and Aqidat and Muslim. So big, this the next podcast we're gonna have after this, or that I'm gonna have after this, is the recap from week 7, where we'll definitely talk about the finally these two teams getting a win. But yeah, like what are your thoughts? Like is this kind of what you expected at the beginning of the season? What teams really kind of stood out to you, either positively or negatively?
Yeah, so just by Huck, I could see them being a top three team. They have ZJ, ZJ. He's a high energy, go go go, drive to the basket, 100%. And then on the defensive end, he brings that exact same amount of energy. So when you have a two-way guard that plays at that level of efficiency, it's hard, not to put them as a top team. And then with ZJ, you have Zulfi, great point guard, super quick, could hit a three. And then you have Heather, who's really stepped up as well. So that big three, Heather and Zulfi are a great backcourt, and then ZJ is their driving anchor. So I definitely see why they're one of the top teams or the top team in the league right now.
100%.
And then who did you say was second? Enlightened Elite, right?
Yeah, and Light Elite,
Yeah, so that goes without saying. I mean, Shahrukh is averaging, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, like probably like 50 points a game, right?
something like that.
Which
I'll
is
pull it up, but yeah.
insane. Yeah, and like there's ways to defend Shahrukh, and like we won't get into that right now, as I don't want to take away from the purpose of this topic. But with Shahrukh playing the way he is, with Camille being a big man, and I know he's on and off the season from what I've heard and what I've seen, but he that doesn't mean that he can't turn it on at any given moment. He's a big man that has great size, and when you have that amount of size, it's a hassle, boxing out in the post and dealing with that. And then you have Sean. I know Sean has also been a little hot and cold this season, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have potential. He's endless amount of energy and is consistently running. And last season, one thing that I saw that could do that, created nightmares for other teams was on the outlet.
Hmm.
As soon as a rebound came, he was on the other end, and he probably got like 12 to 15 points every game just by doing that.
And he's still doing that and doing it well. So keeping that in combination with Sharak is definitely an excellent combo. To answer your question from earlier, I don't know if I mean these are supposed to be the most up to date. I'm not certain if they are, but it does look like Sharak is leading points overall for this season with 213 at the moment, with Saad a close second with 206 and Professor at 192.
And
But
that's taken to the fact that Shahruk's missed like 3 games as well.
Missed three, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Where
So
Saad, I
he,
don't think, has missed 3 games. So
yeah,
it's
and
pretty
he's only
crazy what he's
one.
doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very wild. It's very wild. I mean, certainly Shark is playing on a next level. When it comes playoff time, I think it's definitely going to be interesting to kind of see, who's going to even put up a fight against his team.
Well, there's
Um,
ways to guard Shahrukh, but like I don't think you want to get into that, so I won't go into that right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, if you have those tips, maybe you should drop them for the Goliath Warriors now. Next time they play that team, if they do. Um, but good, good. And then kind of in terms of like the bottom six, like the 3 and 4, 2 and 5, 1 and 6 teams, which of those teams there is surprising to you? I mean, your own team is kind of in that. I will say all six of these teams are all like negative point differentials compared to the
Yeah,
top six teams that are all positive. Is there any particular team that like sticks out?
yeah. For me, the biggest shocker is Guardians of Falak, my brother's team, because
Hmm. Hmm.
Assad is such a great offensive talent. He has size, which could make it tough on the defensive end. And then you have Sajad Al Casey. I've guarded Sajad last year, and he's a guy with good size. He's a guy that could drive the basket and could definitely score buckets.
Hmm.
So those are two, top talents. Let's say two of the top 20, 25, whatever. And like you would think with those two guys on your in your backcourt, you would have a better team. And you have Asad Kazmi. I don't know how many games he's played, but he's a big guy. He could grab boards. He could post up. I've seen him hit some shots. So I would think that they would be better, but I'm surprised that they're at the point that they are right now, to be honest.
Hundred
I
percent.
think a lot of it has to do with chemistry, to be honest with you, Reg. I think
Yeah.
Saad and Sajad, their chemistry, just because they're two top offensive talents, doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to win games. I think chemistry has a lot to do with it. If your two top guys are not on the same page,
Yeah.
then yeah, you're going to have problems.
No, yeah, that's very well said. And I think having watched these games, I think the support that we were expecting between Asad Gazmi and Zin and Adi and the rest of the team, like it's just I think pretty specifically those three guys, their stock has definitely dropped in value this season compared to previous. I don't know if it's because of the chemistry issue or just kind of what it is, but they're not playing well at all. The rest of the supporting cast for the Guardians, so I think that's playing a huge role. Whereas if you look at Shadat Azler, their supporting cast is all playing like their roles perfectly, and so I think that's basically been the biggest difference for sure.
Every team needs a vocal leader. If no, Ahmed Ali was our vocal leader on our team last year.
Yeah,
Shahrukh is a vocal leader on his team. The question becomes who's a vocal leader on Saad's team.
for
Because
sure,
right
for sure.
now, I love my brother, but I don't think he's the leader that the team needs right now. He's a top five offensive talent.
Right.
He's one of the best players in the league, but that team needs a leader, a voice that people will, fall behind.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's lacking.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's well put. Um, so yeah, so it's crazy. So certainly, the crazy thing about it is I think it's top eight teams that make the playoffs. I could be wrong about that. It might be top 10. So even at the 1 and 6 position, any of these teams can still make it. So especially there's 4 games left in the season, so anything can happen. Like it can completely be shaken up, and I feel like as crazy as it sounds, on any given day, like these teams still have the rest of the season to kind of figure out their game and figure out their chemistry. And so like on a given day. If the Guardians of Falak or the Muslims slide into like that 8 or 9 position and they find their way into the playoffs, I think they could put up a fight. It's possible against any of these other teams. Um,
Yeah, I mean, any team could beat any team mostly. I would say
for
there's
the
some
most part.
matchups that don't work well for the others, but you're spot on. I just think it's about chemistry. I think it's about finding your groove. And once, like, I think my team has done a great job of that. And I'm not
Yeah.
boasting my team by any means. I'm just being completely unbiased. I think we started off really rough.
Mhm.
Granted, Said Ali was missing, but still. And the last 3 games, I think we found a way to distribute the ball evenly across board. I think Ryan is a sleeper pick of the most improved player of the year. I really
Mhm.
do. Not just because he's on my team, just because of how much he stepped up. That kid is a mirror copy to me of Sean Cosme. I really think what he's doing is very similar to what Sean did last year. And he, if you looked at his stat line for the last game, he had 20 plus points. Fiddy's finally found his group. He had a 20-20 game last game. And then Maz can score buckets. And Said Ali is obviously the point guard that he is. So you have a well balanced team. And I won't go into my team too much. I think one thing that we're lacking, and we really need to improve on that, is rebounding because we're getting killed in the paint. If they
Yeah.
could fix that problem, then they could be a problem.
100%, 100%. No, it's definitely a good way to put it. And actually, yeah, let's keep talking about your team here. I mean, like, right now they're not, they're in the bottom half, but they have been playing better and better, kind of as you've been putting it. And I think, like you said, they've definitely found their stride. And I think, like you said, Rayon's been a big part of that. He's currently, again, I don't know if this is the most updated, but right now 23 of 39 from two and 14 of 30 from 3 point range. So he's actually right now their best 3 point shooter, shooting almost 50% from three. Versus Fitros, who's shooting about 25%. He's 17 of 53, and certainly Saad at 8 of 37, and Maz at 4 of 18. Not gonna get that done. So I mean, hopefully, I mean, I think if they keep continuing to find a way to get Rayon the ball and kind of keep him in the game, certainly I think they'll do well. What halfway through the season, do you think where do you think that the Warriors will end up at the by the end of the season?
So I'm going to be completely objective here, as I don't want to, favor my team for this
Yeah,
sake of this podcast. I think we'll end up probably like a 6 seed if we continue at the momentum that we are. I think that's fair because I say that because I know for a few games some of our guys will be missing. I think rebounding is an issue that hopefully we'll fix, but I don't know how. So that's one compartment that we need to step up on. Just because we have a 3-4 record right now, we have some good teams that we face, but the momentum is there. I mean, the last team that we beat was Hassan Khan's team, which is one of the best teams in the league,
for
and they
sure.
had everyone minus their big guy, one of their guys, Kamran, I think. So it's not like they had half of their team there. They had everyone there minus one guy, and we didn't have, I think, Nabz that game. So it was a fair win, and it was a big win because that's one of the top teams in the league.
100%. That's one of their only two losses, so it's very well done. So yeah, so we look. I mean, I definitely look forward to seeing the Warriors. Hopefully between Maz and Sayed and Fiddy. Fiddy, listen, you heard it from your player. You need to step up and get the rebounds, my boy. All right,
No,
people
Fiddy's the
banking
only
on
one that's
you.
grabbing the rebounds. No, Fiddy's the only one that's grabbing the rebounds. He had a 20-20 game. He had 5 points and 20 rebounds, which is monster. It's
That's
just
fair. That's
everyone else needs to help him out a little bit. So
100%.
hopefully we can get it done.
Yeah, it looks like you're right. It looks Fiddy is leading the team in rebounds right now at 70, with Maz behind him at 44. So Maz, Hyderabad, Rayan, all you guys need to step up with those rebounds. All right. But that's good. No, that's good. I definitely think that six is a reasonable spot for them. So we'll see kind of how that ends up going. Now here's my next question for you. So far this season, I think has been full of shocks. It's been full of surprises. A lot of things have went differently than anyone expected. In order of like least shocking to most shocking, give me your top three shocks. Like Thunder shock, Thunderbolt, Thunder. Like, what are your shocks?
Okay, so I want to like say this. This is coming from a place of just subjective opinion. So please don't take it personally. Least shocking is Adika Muslim being in last place, just because I just don't think they have a well balanced team. I think Festival needs a lot of help,
Yep.
especially on the offensive end. They don't have size. They're missing a lot. So I'm not really shocked to see them right now at the position that they are.
Did you
Most
expect them to be
shocking,
1-6 at this point in the season?
yeah. I mean, I expected them to have a bad record. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't really think about their record, but I expected them to have a bad record because I mean, Fazal can't carry the team by himself. That's just point
agreed.
blank. He needs help, and he doesn't have that help. And when a star player, let's just call him Fessel, the guy of the team, doesn't have help, he gets demotivated no matter how good you are. You can't, no one, Jordan couldn't carry a team by himself. He needed Pippen and Rodman, right? So
100%.
if you don't have help, you're going to get demotivated. And I think that's a little bit of what's happening here. So I'm not shocked.
100%, 100%. And I'll point it out there. It's just the crazy thing that we saw this past week. And I think finally, when he did get his help in the form of Mustafa Raza, they finally beat a team, and they beat the Commanders of Mujtaba of all teams. So Mustafa Raza went 7 of 11 that game. He's gonna end. He had, I think, oh no, yeah, and he had 4 rebounds. I mean, like it was definitely a much better team game that game. So they finally found a win. But yeah, so they'll just need to keep up, those second and third guys on Mustafa, they'll guys like that need to continue to help out Faisal, and that's the only way they're going to find success. What about what's your shock number two?
So I think most shocking would again be Guardians of FUT, just because they have elite talent, but they're just not finding their stride. They're not finding their groove. I would say that Guardians of FUT before the season started, we have like 7 games into the season. If
Yeah,
I had to put a record on them before the season started, I would say 4-3 or 5-2.
yeah,
Definitely not 1-6.
definitely not 1-6, right?
So I mean, like I said, leadership is a issue there. Chemistry is an issue there. So hopefully they could get it together because the season is only I think halfway done, maybe a little bit more. But if Saad and Sajjad could get on the same page, and then they could both lead the team as the two top guys, then that team could definitely cause chaos and trouble. Hopefully that's a motivator for them. But right now, both those guys need to step up.
Yeah. All right, Saad, Sajjad, I hope you're listening. Like Nabil said, you got to figure it out. ZB, you're the captain of this team. If they're not going to be the vocal leader, you got to be the vocal leader. Somebody's got to bring this team together and make it work because there's no reason it shouldn't be. And then what's your ultimate biggest shock so far?
Um, I would say Guardians of Flight. I mean, how much bigger of a shock can you have? I
That,
think
that was
every other
okay.
team.
All right. Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Fair enough. All right. So that's no, that's good. That's good. And then I guess let's round it off with some predictions. I mean, there's six
Sure.
solid. I mean, all teams are solid in their own right, but there's definitely six top teams. I think you kind of alluded to it earlier, but if you had to pick a number one seed by the end of the season, do you think it's going to remain Shujat Al Yazgar? There's 4 games left, and if it's not Shujat Al Yazgar, who do you think it's going to be?
Depends. If Shahrukh plays the next 4 games, I do think his team will take that top spot. Um, I personally like. It's not a shocker. I do think one team is overrated, and again, guys, this is coming from love, so please don't take it personally.
Bring it
I
out.
do
It's completely
find
personal, watchers. Okay, sorry.
no, it's never personal. This is just complete unbiased. I think. Here, let me find the team's name here. Sorry, I have it on the screen. Okay, so Sabari Zainab, I think I wasn't expecting this team to be one of the top teams. I think they're a decent team, a 500 team. But I think Abbas, he's a great player. He knows how to drive to the basket. He has size to him. He's a great defender, but he's very hot and cold. He doesn't step up at times, or he's passive. I think Morez has size to him again. He could hit an open shot, but I think Morez is not going to be that dominant scorer that a team needs. Like if you think of like dominant scorers, you think of like Saad. You could think
Yeah,
of Ahmed Ali when he wants to switch it on, right? Morez or Abbas, I don't think are those dominant scorers. You
that's
need
fair.
a guy that could lead the offense and turn that switch on. Shahrukh, Ahmed Ali, Saad, um, even Professor. But when I look at that team, I don't see either of those guys being the guy that could just turn a switch on and go crazy, and I don't think that's going to carry them very far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that's even if we made we're 3-4 right now. Yeah, our team is
Yeah.
struggling here,
Sorry,
but
Rich.
that's okay. I mean, we'll see what happens. If so what I would say is, do you think that Sharks team is the team to beat then?
Shahruk's team is a team to beat, and Shahruk's team can be beaten. I think, going into detail, like, I think for a guy like Shahrukh to, be contained, you need to put a young, athletic guy on him, for example, a Yafa, and you need to full court and say, Yafa, your only job is to full court press Shahrukh and exhaust him, you know, and forget about offense. We'll find offense on the other end. Because Shahrukh will still drop 30 points on Yafa or more. But if you exhaust him and full court press him every single play down, he's going to leave everything in the tank, and there's not going to be much to offer. I did this against Hussein, who I thought was the hardest guard I've ever had to, play against last year.
Yeah,
And he scored 35 probably on me in the playoffs. But what I did is I had one job and was to absolutely exhaust him, make him as fatigued as possible. I full court pressing every single play down.
yeah,
And because of that, he scored 35, but that was it. There was nothing else. Other way to beat Shahrukh is through zone. Shahrukh loves to drive to the basket. He could hit the shot, but he prefers to drive. Play 2-3, two guys up top, three on the bottom. put big bodies in the post, make life tough for him.
It could work,
Playing
but you got to find a way to
ISO,
draw that foul every time too, though. You know.
oh yes, where you have teams like Ahmed Ali who play smart. You know, you have to know how he plays. If you know how the guy plays, you have to know how he plays, and then play an effective defensive strategy against him. You know, playing passive against him, him up at half court, allowing him to drive is never going to get the job done.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we'll see. I mean, two teams have said that they can beat him. The one team that you mentioned, like you mentioned, the Alpha. So the Commanders, they actually put up a pretty good fight against him. It was a 69-65 was the final, I think, in that game, or something like that. It was like 3 or 4 points was the final difference. So definitely, and the Alpha wasn't even there that game. So I mean, definitely anything can happen. I guess we'll just have to take it one step at a time and see how things progress. But Nabil, any final thoughts? Any final comments that you wanted to put out there? Anything else? What do you got?
No, I appreciate the time you gave me today, man. I look forward to see how rest of the season folds out. I do think the top teams that we mentioned are going to continue to be the top. I do think my team will slide into the playoffs around that sixth seed or so. But who knows? Who knows what could happen? We have half the season left, so let's see.
100%. Well, we're hoping that the Goliath Warriors not just slide into the playoffs, but slide into the 4 or 5 spot the same way I like to slide into Fiddy's DMs sometimes. But yeah, well, we look forward to seeing that happen. In the meantime, folks, stay tuned. This Sunday we've got week 8 of NJSSL basketball. It's going to be a good week, and look out for the next podcast to drop hopefully in the next day or two with the week 8 predictions. Until then, friends, everybody, Nabil, thank you for joining us. And
Appreciate it,
everybody
man.
else, stay true to yourself, stay strong, stay hungry, and we'll see you guys in a few days.
Thank you.